Arkansas or Roblox? Who hates children more? Let's find out. This is the Good Game, Bad Game podcast.
This is a song I wrote about the Good Game, Bad Game podcast. Good Game, Bad Game podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Good Game, Bad Game podcast. I'm your host, Spencer, and with me is a man who benefited from child labor himself. It's my co-host, Mike. Mike, how was it working in the mines?
I just want to be very careful with how we phrase that. I did not benefit from child labor.
You benefited from
being a child laborer.
Yes.
Let's be very careful.
Yes. Yes. I mean, we both, let's be honest for 2 seconds. We both put on this podcast. I think we all know that neither one of us is benefiting from child labor.
Yeah.
Neither one of us is a billionaire with a B. So, which is, I think, the clearest. Oh my fucking God, dude. It's over. I'm canceling it. We're done.
See you next week.
Tell me about your weekend games.
Well, hold on a second.
What?
The legal working age in Pennsylvania is 13. I just want that in the back of everyone's head.
Did you have a work permit when you were... Wait.
What?
Don't you need like a permit though before you're 16 in Pennsylvania? Or has it dialed back? Should I change the intro to Pennsylvania or Arkansas or Roblox? Who hates children more? The United States or Roblox? Who hates children more? I think that would have been the better.
Yeah.
Let's hang on. Let's run it back. The United States or Roblox? Who hates children more? Let's find out. And then I'm not going to throw the intro back in.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get into it. All right. We'll get into all the nitty-gritty. But that was a little joke because you used to be a little computer gremlin, laptop gremlin. You'd fix up computers, which is to this day still one of those things. I know you like fix controllers like on the fly, and that still really impresses me because you have just like the cojones to do it and even attempt it, where I'm just
not getting more broken.
That's fair. I'm just the scaredest of all scared that I like refuse to potentially try. But I'll think back to the days where you would just have like a laptop just like completely apart and I'm waiting on this part that I don't understand, me not understanding what it is. And then you just boom, there's a laptop and it's working. And
yeah,
that'll always impress me.
It was the cheapest way to get a laptop at 13.
Yeah, that's fair play.
What'll be really funny one day is like when there's a Netflix documentary about 13-year-old me.
Okay. All right.
Buying laptops from electronics recycling plant, which what I've learned since is probably not illegal for me to buy them, but potentially illegal that I was able to buy them.
Wait.
But anyway.
Huh? What?
So when I was young, when I was really young, I would buy broken laptops off eBay.
Yeah.
But then I found out that lived down the road from an electronics recycling plant.
Yep.
And found out very early that businesses really only keep laptops for like 3 years and then they just throw them out.
Mm-hmm.
So I would go to the recycling plant and buy them and just flip them. And really the only cost ever was because they wouldn't sell me the hard drives, which I think technically makes it not illegal. But yeah, that was a good gig.
Yeah. About as about as good of a gig you can have at
Yeah,
14.
yeah. And beat the hell out of working for a certain Pennsylvania festival under subpar work conditions.
Or potentially, hear me out, better than being creative and making stuff on Roblox.
Sure.
We'll get
I don't
into
know.
it. We'll get
Yeah,
into it.
we'll get into it.
Tell me about the games you played this week. Did you play anything?
I did.
Let's go.
I did. Um, and what I played may shock you.
Monopoly Go.
Well, might shock you that I didn't play that.
Gasp.
Yeah. No, I played a bunch of Forza Horizon this week.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a really great time. I I don't know why I don't just like that. I don't know why that game is not my go-to like sit down and waste time on because you can literally play it like for as little or as long as you want.
Right.
So, uh yeah, played that and some Super Mario Odyssey, which is really the big thing that I wanted to talk about
Nice.
because you just said last week how good of a game that is,
It's a very good
and
game.
my brother has said the same thing. Um, and here's my issue with it.
Uh-oh.
Well, one, I hadn't played it in a while, and I didn't like restart or anything, so I was just
Okay.
kind of in the middle of a world.
Sure.
Um, but you can spend so much time on like way more time than you need on one world, like collecting moons or whatever.
Yep.
And I don't really know what the moons are for. Like I know you need X amount to be able to go to like new worlds,
Yeah.
but all I know is there are many of them, and they're kind of fun to find.
Mm-hmm.
So I went through and I beat the boss for that level. Um, but instead of just moving on, like I should, because I really have way more games than I can afford to play at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Nope, just combed the whole world looking for moons.
So it's like it's a gripe, but it's a good thing.
It was a good 3 hours a waste of time.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. Um yeah, finding the moons in the game is a lot of fun, and it's especially fun. And I think like it happens literally in the first world. You get a moon and you're like kind of high up or something, and you're kind of like looking around, and you can literally see like way off into the distance, and you're like, that's another moon. I want to go
Hmm.
get that. And then you just go and you go get it.
Yeah, it's definitely very satisfying to find them,
Yeah.
especially when like you need to wait until later on and like to unlock an area or whatever.
Sure. Yeah, I mean like doing like the combing and stuff like that just helps you like move along later down the road, because I don't think it's like, oh, you need to get 5 in like each specific level. It's like a compounding thing, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So it's like you just need X amount total across the first 6 worlds to be able to go to the 7th world, or however it works, if I remember correctly. So technically you're doing yourself a favor potentially. But yeah, I loved Super Mario Odyssey. I beat that in one stream. That was back in my first
Really?
first Boston apartment, and it's when I had like the wacky off days and stuff, and was working like
The what you off days?
the wacky, the weird, the not normal.
Y-
Normal people have Saturday, Sundays off. I believe my off
Yeah,
days were like Tuesday,
the wacky
Wednesday.
off days.
Because it sounded like I said I'm gonna whack you off. Is that what you're getting at?
No.
um, and it's when I worked like the graveyard shift. So I would wake up at like 3 p.m. and start my day. And I think Shelby and I like woke up and we were like, we're just gonna play Super Mario Odyssey today, and we played it for like 8 to 10 hours straight, and we were done. But I didn't like 100% it. It was literally like I got every moon and I got all the easy moons, move on to the next world, and not spend X amount of hours like getting every single last moon necessarily. So hopefully that like is a like uh hopefully that helps you like think about it. Like it's not like a terribly long game, so
Okay. Yeah, I think it will. I've enjoyed it.
I think it's like I think it's so. But I always loved um those Mario games like Super Mario 64, Galaxy, Sunshine. Sunshine was a little wonky, but I mean I just played that like probably within at least the past 2 years when they did the trio for the Switch.
Mm.
And I really enjoyed those types of Mario games. I think I like those more than just like the side-scrolling platformers, but that's because I suck and panic too much with the side-scrolling platformers. Did you play? Did you play like 64 and the other? I don't know, the 3D I guess Mario's.
Yeah, I played. Funny enough, I didn't play 64 until it was on DS.
Great port.
Yeah, fantastic. Um, I have Sunshine for the GameCube. Um, I know we played it like when GameCube was the console. I think we rented
Hmm.
it from the Blockbuster Video. I can't remember if we beat it or not. Um, my brother and I played. Um, I know for sure the first Super Mario Galaxy. I want to say we played the second one as well.
I remember
Um,
I played the first one. I don't know if I ever touched the second one, but I played the first
okay.
one. Um, like my brother would go to work and I'd be like, can I play the Wii? And he'd be like, fine. And then next thing you know, I've basically beaten Super Mario Galaxy. I was like enamored with that game. I thought it was just the fucking coolest.
That
And I haven't played it since then, even though it's a part of
yeah.
that collection. And it's like one of those games that like I'm really excited to get back to at some point and then also play the second one because I remember thinking it was so phenomenal and then like playing Odyssey. I just thought Odyssey was so freaking good and just felt so good.
Hmm. Yeah, I remember Super Mario Galaxy being like one of those revolutionary games in my life where I was like, "Oh my God, this is like." That's
Mhm.
probably my first feeling of something that felt next gen. Because
Yeah,
of
you're
course we had that before we had our PS3.
yeah.
Yeah, I should get that collection because you said it's what 64 Sunshine and just the first Galaxy, or is it both of them?
Just the first Galaxy.
Okay. Yeah. I've been thinking about cracking Sunshine out for the GameCube. Sure, it holds up, right?
Yeah, I mean, playing it on like the Switch port was fun. I don't know. It honestly might feel better on and this may be shocking to some, but it may feel better on like a GameCube controller.
Well, I've got good news.
You have the GameCube controller for the
I have
Switch.
the GameCube controller for the Switch.
Yeah, I know.
It's not the same.
It's not, but I'm sure it feels better and more like the GameCube controller than the Switch controller does.
Yeah. I've been
Although
using it to play Odyssey.
I'm trying to think. If I played it, I would have almost certainly played using the Pro controller. I don't know. I don't know what I'm on about.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was still fun. It was a blast. And Sunshine was actually like a little difficult.
Yeah,
Like
I remember that.
more so, it might have been It might be the hardest of all those in my mind.
They were just like I remember a ton of weird mechanics.
Yeah. Yeah, because you have to like spray and run and spray, and you had to catch Metal Mario and
Yeah.
all that stuff. And I remember there was definitely like moments, and like the camera. That's the only like downfall of Mario games sometimes, is that the camera can be really janky.
Hmm.
And that's probably what did me in a couple of times with Sunshine. But anyway, great games, all of them. And I'm happy you're jumping back into Odyssey.
Jump in was Xbox's thing, but yeah.
All right. So,
Tell me.
Forza, Super Mario Odyssey. Anything else?
Uh, Sounds about right.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
I
Been a fun week.
I can't really outshine you, out sunshine you, because
Oh,
I basically only played MLB.
okay.
I did get a couple of other players, a couple other Cardinal players to parallel 5 max level. So no big deal. It is a big deal. It's really all I have going for me at this point. Um, and I got the platinum in Ghostbusters, the video game, which was pretty fun. And like, I think if I Googled like best movie adaptation games, I have a feeling Ghostbusters would be up there. Not that it's like a straight like adaptation of a movie. It's like a in between story or something like that. You know, like it is like original. I think. Um, in a lot of ways, while using the various assets of Ghostbusters. But yeah, it was kind of surprising how good it was, and they got like Dan Aykroyd, Bill Murray. It was all the people.
Do you know who developed that?
I'm trying to think of the intro credits. Saber Interactive.
Okay.
I don't know if they were like the developers or what. And I want to say Viacom or what's the one? It starts with a V, and I want to say
Vol-
they also did Saints Row.
Volition.
Volition, not Viacom. Volition. I believe it was them as well.
Well, they're all owned by Embracer, so
Ah, ah. I've just
it
been
was basic.
I've been shot.
It was basically THQ.
Ah, I just praised Embracer. Oh, I'm dying. Well, it was a remaster of the game that's leaving the service, and it was solid. It was solid.
Very good.
And then I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Been playing this stupid fishing game. It's really getting on my nerves. And did you ever play the Soul Calibur games?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Is that
Mostly just 1 through 3 though. So
okay? Well, I'm playing Soul Calibur 6. So that's also leaving the service. And I don't really know what I thought Soul Calibur was. And it's not that this is like that different. Like I thought it was basically Tekken with swords. And that kind of is it, but
yeah.
it's also like I don't know, it just cuz I did just play Street Fighter or Tekken or one of them not too long ago, and some other fighting game that I was talking about last week. And it is kind of like that, but also like it does just feel totally different at the same time.
It does.
I don't really
There's a
know.
little more depth.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't really know how else to explain it. Like it's one of those things where it's like if you like the Tekken games, I would say you would probably like Soul Calibur and like vice versa. But it's mostly because they are close enough. But they I would preface that like it's not as close as like Tekken and Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter in terms of like feel. Is that fair?
Yeah. I
All
just
right.
remember Soul Calibur 3 for the GameCube
Had Link.
had Link,
Yep.
and that was awesome.
And Soul Calibur 3 for the PS2 had somebody from probably Final Fantasy, I think. But it was cool how they like had different characters based on like I don't know. I just thought that was kind of neat.
Yeah.
Soul Calibur 6 has Geralt of Rivia
All right.
from The Witcher.
It's
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, it
I'm
is
glad they
fun.
still do that.
Yeah, it's very cool. But yeah. So that's it. That's all I got. So let's talk a little news that I hate to break it to you, based off of our riveting conversation last week, where we talked about how there's just no good new news and stuff like that. You sent me almost a week ago about an IGN post where they said Roblox basically defended pay to earn isn't child labor, and basically bringing up the point of like, is Roblox child labor? And you and I went back and forth a little bit, both kind of like walked away from it with like, definitely need to dig into this a little bit more before kind of like making final statements. And so I started looking into it, and you're not going to believe this. 2 years ago, The Guardian actually ran a story about Roblox being child labor.
Really?
Yeah. How interesting is that? So no news is new news. First
Especially in
and
IGN's
foremost.
case.
Yes, especially in IGN's case. And I kind of like, so I'm reading about it and stuff like that. And I also just wanted to real quick go over. And I think like there's, as with anything, there can be a lot of different definitions, interpretations, stuff like that. But at its core, what I've been able to find is that child labor is basically the exploitation of children through any sort of work that stunts their ability and their like potential for physical and mental development. So basically like uh withholding them from like school is like a main case. But also like it then starts to go more general in its term by saying like mental, physically, socially, morally harmful. Um, so again, that's kind of just like a baseline of like what is child labor. So it's the exploitation of children through their labor that stunts their abilities and capabilities to grow basically in multiple different ways. I think, and again, I alluded to it at the top, I think it's really funny how we are focusing in on Roblox, which is a platform that I think had some absurd number of active users. I'm hoping my surfing of the internet doesn't break the recording or anything. And again, with the Guardian article, these numbers are from 2 years ago, but back in November 2021, Roblox was seeing an average of 49.4 million users each day. And there was an impressive number that I think called out how many of the users were like 13 or under, but almost half of its users are aged 13 or under. And the article breaks down like, how much Roblox through this like program where they were paying creators for their creations, how it actually helped skyrocket Roblox's growth and valuation and stuff like that. Like, again, at the time of the article, Roblox was valued at 41 billion, I think, which is absurd. There's a lot to unpack when it comes to like trying to find the line where something in this case to me is like considered child labor. Especially when I think there are like clearer, more disgusting cases of true exploitation happening.
So, so you think this is considered child labor?
I think it's such a like fine line. I think like it's one of those things where it's like on a technicality, maybe. Like it's so okay. I'm just trying to like get certain thoughts out there. I think the ability for anyone to be creative in a space and to receive like payment for that creation is like a net good inherently. So I think like anybody on the Roblox platform being able to like create something, put it to the store, and other people can like buy that thing and then you receive benefit for your creation, that's awesome. I think that's great.
Mm-hmm.
I think where people can get a little like up in arms about it is that Roblox does take a 30% cut of all sales. And then there is the added fact of like, well, you're seeing all of this benefit from the work of of children. So I get like again the like technicality of it,
Mm-hmm.
but it just like looking back at the definition of like child labor, it's like, does this interfere with a child's ability to attend regular school? No.
No.
Like it could, I guess it could, but like
It's not like the developers of Roblox are employing them to do so, though.
exactly. And then, like, is it mentally harmful? No more mentally harmful than just being a kid of the internet age already is, right?
Right.
Is it
And
physically harmful? Definitely not. You're not in the mines. Is it socially harmful and is it morally harmful? Again, it's so like it's such a generic, very flat thing. It's like almost anything can technically be socially harmful, and almost anything can be technically morally harmful. But
right.
like if like pure gut check on each of those things, I would be like, no. I see this as a net good. You're letting kids be creative, giving them an outlet, and also letting them benefit from their creativity.
Mm-hmm.
That should be seen as, I would say, net good. The
And
benefits that Roblox receives because of it, you know, that's I think where like people want to point the finger the most.
right.
Go ahead. What are your thoughts? I just like kind of rambled there.
I mean, considering that all of this is discretionary, I have a hard time seeing that it's child labor at all, like kind of across the board. Um,
Like you're saying, because like you're entering it, like because you're not forced to create.
right. You don't even have to play the game.
Right.
Um, the my only like red flag is I'm sure this came about because and I don't know if you had the demographic information, but I'm sure the majority of people playing this game are under the age of 18.
Again, it said roughly from that Guardian article, it said almost half of its users, which again, according to numbers from November 2021, 49.4 million users logged on each day. So 25 million users are under the age of 13.
Under the age of 13. Okay.
Or are 13 or under. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, like,
But that doesn't necessarily state who's actually creating, because the other portion of this, sorry, just to keep, I'm a little all over the place, but again, old numbers, keep in mind. 5% of Roblox players publish something of their own. So if 49.4 million is the number of users, let's just call it around 50. So 5% of that is 2.5 million users actually create something on the platform. And that might have ballooned by now. I'm sure it has. Just because I know the game has remained popular and still probably boasts ridiculous active user numbers.
yeah. And I don't know if you saw this at all, but there was apparently a Roblox PR person at this interview with Eurogamer that said most of the developers earning money on Roblox are 18 or older. Now, that's not a very good very good metric, most of.
Trust me.
Like, yeah, it's exactly how it feels. So to get back to my point, the only thing here that kind of feels like it could be exploiting is they understand that they're essentially building a game with a heavily, like, just a very young player base.
Mm-hmm.
And when you've got people on your development team that are 18 and older, it's hard to, like, how do you get ideas for things that are going to keep kids on the platform?
Sure.
Well, go to the source and do that. But I think my biggest argument against all of this is look at any community driven game.
That's I think, yeah. Okay. Keep going.
They're so heavily based on community engagement and people creating and building maps or building, whatever.
Yeah.
And historically there haven't been any model, or many models at least, to pay people for those contributions. It's just, okay, these people love this game, so they're going to build it for their own their own interaction. But if somebody builds something really cool, then that's going to bring other players back or draw new players in and give the main development company more money.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, for me, like, I feel like the big game when I was, I don't remember, probably around 13 or 14, was Skate 3. And that was such a community driven game, and like people would create maps and put all this work and effort into it, and they would be free.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the fact that they're at least, paying people for their time and effort, incentivizing it, and it would be interesting to see, like, if they turn this into like a work education kind of, no, maybe not a work education is the phrase I want to use, but like just like a pathway. Because if you've got, and I don't know what skills it takes to build something for Roblox. I don't know if it's like you're like Minecraft, like you're in game as the character and you're building maps with literal blocks and then you can publish it, or if like there's any coding or anything involved. Like, I don't know what that looks like, but it could be a good like pipeline to use the the phrase that the studio lead gave, like a kid in a slum in Indonesia. Like, that could give them a pathway to becoming a game developer. I don't know.
No, 100%.
So the one thing that I just actually found out this morning when I was reading about, which makes the case against this. And you had said that Roblox takes 30% of sales.
Yeah, like you make a map or you make a game or you make some sort of item and it's on the store and you buy it with 80 Roblox coins or something. 30% goes to Roblox, the rest goes to the seller.
Interesting. Which is, and I wonder if this compounds, and when you and I were talking about this last week, we were talking about double dipping, but Eurogamer said that um, so a user can buy 1,000 Robux for $12.50, but when they cash out those 1,000 Robux, they only get $3.50. That's much more than 30%.
Hmm.
I mean,
Interesting.
that's pretty much the inverse.
Yeah.
So that kind of, and I don't think that's a good ratio, and I'll talk about that in a second. But like, if I sell a map for 1,000 Robux, are they taking whatever it comes out to, 300 Robux, and then I only have 700 left to sell, and they're only giving me 30% of the value. So they're getting 70% of the value of what I sell to them, and also taking 30% of what I sell to the other
Like,
users.
yeah, like you're saying, like if you take it out of the ecosystem or, yeah.
Yeah, so that's, I guess that's some good background, but that when you sell something on Roblox, you don't get paid in cash straight up.
Right.
You get paid in Robux, and then you have to convert that to cash.
Yeah. That's like the whole thing. I don't know if you remember this, probably from like a year ago or 2 years ago. I'm sure it's happened like multiple times. But there was this person, I think it was like a TikTok or one of those short form video things. And they were like, so if I get paid, taxes are taken out of that. But then if I give
Mhm.
that money that taxes have already been taken out of and I pay for something, the person who receives my money will have taxes taken out of what I just gave them, even though that money has already like been taxed effectively. And then it just keeps happening, right? Like
Mhm.
as you go along till you literally have nothing. Um, and that's what this reminds me of, right? Where it's like, okay, so you give me 1,000 Robux, and so it gets taxed. So now I have 700 actually like given to me, and then I buy something from you for 700, and 30% gets taken out of that. So then you only have, yeah, and then it just keeps going on and on and on. Which if that's the case, like, yeah, that's scummy, but also how just the transition of money goes.
Yeah, that's economics,
Mm-hmm.
or so we're told.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, it's hard to see somebody, and of course, conversion rates and economic status is different across the world, but it's hard to see $3.50 supporting a kid's family when Roblox is taking more than double that.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to make that case, then that conversion rate needs to be much better. Like if you're just saying like, oh well, other companies are, you know, having people make these maps and they're not paying anything. Like that's fine. If it's just supposed to be one of those fun things where it's a little bit of an incentive and you get the in-game currency, like that's fine. But to like make the case that somebody could sustain their family off of it, I think is a little ludicrous. And that's maybe a statement you shouldn't be making.
Yeah, yeah. That's that's something where I like got like just bad vibes from that like quote. Um just because like you're glorifying something that like is not really truly going to pan out, and I just hate that.
Yeah, agreed.
But yeah, I mean, I think like I land kind of where what you were saying, where it's like, I think about like GTA, um, and like all the maps we used to play in that, and just how cool it would be if people were getting just some sort of payout for like the number of plays they receive. I don't really ever expect something like that to be. I don't ever expect that the amount of money to be made from some sort of like community creation tool to be like life changing. And I don't necessarily think like I would want GTA to make it so that you had to buy a created map or something along those lines. Um, but I think some sort of acknowledgement of like, you've created something here that has kept people in the game. And when people are in the game, they are going to buy shark cards. And so some sort of acknowledgement to the fact that like you have done something and contributed to keeping the game alive in some capacity. So here's some money for your contribution. I think like that's like something that would be really cool and uh kind of like a win-win, right? Giving people the creative outlets to make something and then also benefit from having made that thing.
Right. I really like the kind of what I was alluding to before, the education aspect of it, and something that, Minecraft had started doing for a while, and I don't know if they still do or if, that has fallen out of favor with the kids for Fortnite and Roblox. But, Minecraft used to have a program that would actually teach kids how to like how to code and how
Mhm.
to write video games. And I think perhaps, if we're not okay with miners getting paid currency for contributions to an ecosystem, like let them build a portfolio off of it. Like if somebody's not going to be able to go to college, you know but they want to get into coding or video game development, like let them be able to build a portfolio of things they've built over time
Yeah.
and give them credit for it.
100%. 100%. I think I see any game that allows for some sort of creation mode or whatever um really is like a step in that direction of like giving the keys to the kingdom, letting you kind of just run wild and like just create, just do it, right? And I feel like that can really only be seen as like a positive impact for people.
So where are we at? So I think we've made cases for both sides. So
I
is the final thesis that as long as it's not forced, and if you are going to pay, it needs to be at a reasonable conversion rate?
Yeah, and I think like, you know, not that whataboutisms is ever the right way of going about an argument, but there are active ways that we're stunting the mental, creative, social growth of our youth. And I don't see I don't see this as, I think, the like active exploitation and evil that I think people want to spin it as. I think there's a lot
Hmm.
of good, but I think like what you're saying, I think there are definitely ways it could be a lot better and more well done. And I think that's very fair. But yeah, it's not forced. Um, yeah, yeah. I think you summed it up nice.
Thanks. I appreciate that as a former child labor.
I mean, yeah, I like. Yeah, it's one of those things where it's just kind of like, uh, you know. But I mean, again, like we've had states, yeah, and we're looking at it, or I'm looking at it from the lens of literally just America, where we're supposed to be number one and the best, and it's like we're watching states like actively roll back, and like companies don't need to hold certificates of work or whatever, or permits for literal 13, 14 year olds working, in a meat house or some shit. And it's just like this thing that's allowing them to be creative and earn from the thing that they're already spending time and enjoying and doing isn't necessarily the thing that we should be up in arms about. But asking for
Right.
better is never wrong. So that's kind of where I net out in it. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's just funny the battles we choose. Sometimes they just don't make sense to me.
It'll just be interesting to see where the model goes and if other games like, I don't know, will Minecraft do something like this?
Yeah,
Not
I'm.
something we need to answer, but just, you know, if they don't already, I don't even know.
I don't think they do, but yeah, I mean, there's definitely a model to be found and like a good one to be found here. And kind of like you said, we'll see where it goes. But yeah, anything else?
No. Back to the mines.
Back to the mines. The mine crafts. All right, that'll do it. Thank you all so much for listening to this episode. If you could do us a favor and leave us a rating or review wherever you do listen, that would be greatly appreciated. Just a reminder, we do post the audio, and maybe one day soon will be a video podcast. But we do post the audio over on YouTube, which is probably the easiest way to leave a little comment. So, what are your thoughts? Do you think Roblox is benefiting from, uh, or yeah, are they benefiting from child labor? Are they skirting the line, or do you see what they're doing as a potential positive? You can let us know. Other than that, share the podcast with a friend, and we'll talk to you next week.